You are listening to Something Rather Than Nothing. Creator and host, Ken Vellante. Editor and producer, Peter Bauer.
Hey everybody, this is Ken Vellante with the Something Rather Than Nothing podcast on art and philosophy. Super excited to have this interview with Angel Marcloid. Before telling everybody about you, Angel, I just wanted to say hello, let you say hello to the listeners.
Hello, listeners. That's all I got.
That's a hello is fantastic. Angel is also known under the band art project Fire-Toolz, and also a big fan of your music here. And Aidan Vellante, child, is a musician as well. Just really enjoy your work, and you recent release, at least for a philosopher, me, I just gosh, I even love your title. I'm upset because I see something that is not there. 2023 release, and for me as a thinker, that basic title has me thinking. Do you want to talk a little bit about your most recent release and what you're doing with your Fire-Toolz project?
I guess when I compose and produce music, there's really no specific agenda. Kind of just play around until something starts coming together. But then at some point during the creation process, like concepts and stuff start to come together, but I never have them beforehand. It's never premeditated. I'd rather just like find what the concept's going to be rather than creating it, just intuitively, I guess. Yeah, but I mean, making music, it's just a little adventure into a new place with every song. But then lyrically, I think that's where the concepts and stuff start as I'm writing.
Yeah, I'm gonna just make a statement, and it's just like my general reaction in listening to music. At least when I first listened to it, stylistically, that it moves and flows into so many different areas. And for me, I'm fascinated by the fact that it's beautiful and you pull it off. It's something that other musicians try, and it's tough to have all those elements hang together. So the question is, how do you end up succeeding in that way where others don't?
I'm not really sure what the difference is. I mean, of course, it's subjective. I mean, I've gotten several reviews in the past where people are just like, I don't know what's going on. There's just random stuff being pieced together. I can't enjoy this. So, I mean, I think it works. And then some people agree, and that's great. There's really, I don't have a method to make it good. I just make what comes out. And if people think that's good, that's great. I think it's good. I usually like to just see the results of my experiment that I've been tweaking for months. If it just like feels good, then that's it. I mean, that's my genre, music that I like or want to listen to or make. So there's no purposeful. I gotta make this work somehow kind of thought process. I don't think like that at all.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it works. I don't even think about that.
Yeah.
I can honestly like really relate to like how you described all of it, because I make music as well, and I make metal, and I kind of just go by the same thing. Like my first couple releases kind of like followed a similar structure, but I'm currently working on like putting together an album, and it's like it's just gone in so many different directions, and it's just like I don't really have like a plan before. Like I just kind of just piece together what's coming out of me musically, and then just like I'll put lyrics to it, you know, to give it some sort of theme, and then I'll give it a title and everything, and then I put it out. But there's usually not any sort of like structure beforehand. So like I really related to like how you said you put your songs together, and I thought that was really cool.
Thanks. I heard you say you talked about it as if like you didn't say I took it in so many directions. You say it went in so many directions. So it kind of gives that sense of like, you know, a lot of it probably like wasn't intentional. It's just what came out. It at least it feels to me that I'm sort of pulled in different directions because it doesn't feel like me that's doing it. So then I'm like, well, what is? So I'm not trying to say the music is like, you know, that makes it like, I don't know, divine or something. I mean, I guess I think it is. But yeah, I mean, just because something flows out of you intuitively doesn't mean that it's good, but it's very real, I guess.
Yeah, it's still like unique to you, and
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes I'll like get an influence from a song, or like just like a specific part of a song, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
I want to create like a song that's like that, and then maybe like the first like 30 seconds will end up sounding somewhat like it, and then the rest of the song is just all over the place with so many different sounds and everything. And yeah, it's a great feeling to just kind of like have everything just kind of pieced together in a different way, you know, like some things come in from like other places like where you're at, because yeah, I mean I piece together like my songs like over the span of like maybe like a week or so. So like different ideas can so many different ideas can come in the span of a week.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, it's great.
I wanted to ask you, Angel, when you're talking about what you're putting together and an experience or feeling like that it's an experiment. I want to tie that to art and the question is what is art, and related to that, like when you finish your song, do you feel it's moved away from maybe an experiment type of stage and it's in a different stage as art? What are your thoughts on that?
It really feels like it gets super solidified at some point. And I feel like the statement's been made and it's been just tweaked to death. I love the tweaking process. It's like my favorite thing. People say commit to something and move on, but now I'm going to mess with it forever. It's a lot of fun to do that. I guess I don't really know what art is, but there's things I hear and see, and sometimes smell and touch that makes me feel something, and there's something about it that's like beautiful, and it seems creative, like a creative force or something created it. You know, I have a lake out front of my house, and sometimes there are like geese and different species of birds, some swans or whatever. And like I'm looking out over there and like feeling so much peace and tranquility. And I'm just like, well, is that art? And then some people would argue that it's not, because it's intention that matters. But then I zoom out and I'm just like, well, what if one of the meanings of all this was beauty and that was intentional? Which is, I know I'm getting a little spiritual, but that's where I live. So
No, it's good. This is the thread we go for.
I also kind of just like don't care what art is. I just like that's a discussion that I guess I kind of hate, and I don't know if there's much point in it. I mean, we just enjoy things that we see. Either some person made it or it's more natural. I don't know, like who really cares?
Yeah.
I don't-
No, I mean there's a huge piece to that, because I think that, like, I can even ask that question, and it could be, what is art? And there could be a stodgy definition, which we all hold on to, in the sense of being like, well, like, maybe the way it's been posed is just kind of like wrong over the time. But yeah,
yeah.
I wanted to ask you. I know some with parents and like musical influence in the back. I know you're around music growing up.
Mhm.
When did you see yourself as an artist or musician, whatever word that you use? When did you see yourself as that in your identity?
I don't remember a starting point because I feel like it's always been there. I mean, they're 2, 3 years old, beating on pots and pans with wooden spoons and trash cans and stuff, and then I had some family member or family friend or something give me an acoustic guitar. I think it was classical. I'm pretty sure that they were nylon strings, but maybe not. Um, just being like a toddler, I have it in my, like, laying down in my lap, um, rather than holding it correctly because I was just so small. And I don't know, just plucking the strings and hitting them with things. And um, yeah, I just, whether I considered myself a musician or not, whether there was an identity word or not, I just feel like I was like just born for music. I don't know anything else. I can't imagine a life where I wasn't making it. Um, so yeah, no real starting point. And
Yeah,
then I also like, I think that labels and stuff can are like useful, because if you say musician or artist, then people understand that you're trying to communicate that you make music or art. And then at the same time, I feel like, kind of like I said about what is art, like I don't really care like about identity words. I mean, like, being trans, obviously, like, they're important in some ways, but I feel like, just zoomed out, ultimately, like, I don't feel like any labels. I just feel like this sort of amorphous, like, thing. Don't really feel a gender and don't really care what I call myself. I'm just kind of existing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can like 100% relate to that, especially on the music side and everything. Um, just uh, like I started making music, like actually releasing it back in January. Um, and there's been a lot of times that I've like tried to put my music up and like give it a description to it, and it never feels right. I feel like I just create what I want to create and it just comes out. So it's like, I'll give it like 1,000 genre titles. Like I think I have one of my EPs up is like melodic black metal with elements of shoegaze and indie rock and all of this, and it's like I don't think that's enough, or I think that, or maybe that might be too much. I'm not sure, but it's just what it is, you know?
Yeah, I think that's cool. I mean, my Bandcamp genre tags on all my releases, I always max them out. There's like, so many to say. Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of indie rock and black metal being together. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I think that all really started for me, like, because I've always been a huge fan of black metal, but like, I think where like things started to like click for me, where I can like piece certain other parts of music together, was when I heard Sunbather by Deaf Heaven for the first time. That was
Mhm.
just like, oh my God, like
You're
this
like, you can do that?
yeah, right? Like I can
Yeah.
make black metal, but like make it sound like beautiful and like melodic at the same time,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they definitely broke some new ground. I mean, there are bands doing similar things for a long time, but they're the ones who are responsible for like changing the black metal scene, or at least creating sort of a new one where a bunch of people can go back to the old stuff and enjoy it, but they're also like very open to, you know, really strong variations on that. There's a band, like a blackened shoegaze band called Crooked Necks, that a couple of my friends were in. They don't have very much material online, but they have a split, and then I think maybe some other stuff. It was kind of like a little, instead of shoegaze, it was kind of a little like gothy post-punk, like maybe like some mid-era like Cure kind of sound, but like all of the vocals were like tortured shrieks, like buried in the background with a bunch of reverb on them. So yeah, you should just like type their name into like YouTube or something. There's probably stuff up there. I think you'd like it. It's pretty lo-fi, but it's amazing, and they were doing it a long time ago. So
Oh, nice. Yeah, definitely want to check that out.
Angel, I got we're gonna be listeners. We're gonna be cutting to a track from Fire-Toolz named "I Was Born at the Wrong Time." Before we go into that, Angel, were you born too early or born too late?
Oh, it's not really about being late or early. It just it's more about just like feeling like this ain't it. For like more like existential reasons, not really like complaints about like, you know, living under capitalism or something. It's definitely more existential than that, and it's not something I actually feel at all or believe. But a lot of times my songs will just be, I'll pick one part of myself that has a certain point of view, that has a certain problem or has a certain goal, and just like make a song from that perspective. And I have this tattoo. It says "people equal shit" on it. It's like a Slipknot reference, and like that's not how I think at all. But there's this part of me that like, you know, hates or is angry about the things that people have done to me and do to the world. That's like pissed off, and I hate them. But that's just a little part.
Yeah.
You know, and it's integrated into all the other parts. I'm not just coming from that part. I mean, we can sort of get trapped in a part for sure, and just like be coming from there and only being able to think that way. But yeah, I try to just, it's compartmentalized. It's just like right here to sort of remind me of that rage, I guess.
Yeah. We're gonna cut to listeners. We're gonna cut to "I Was Born at the Wrong Time" by Fire-Toolz, and we'll be back in just a bit.
To Mother Earth.
6 inches of soil. Wait to tell us. As they grow up.
And the beauty of you is
Great Bay Aquarium, which was my first home in the United States, was living in those canneries as a little girl.
So good to see you all.
For my father,
to be around spiritual upliftment.
I want to thank Sayo.
and I'm so sorry that
And now and forever.
We'll be together soon.
Thank you, Fire-Toolz.
You're welcome.
I just love the synth on that song. It's insane.
Thank you.
If I can ask, like, what DAW do you use, and like what
I do everything in Logic.
Logic? Ah, man, I've been trying to learn Logic recently. I've done all my music and stuff like that on FL Studio, so it's been an interesting transition.
Yeah, that's a lot different. FL Studio and Logic is a lot different. Probably the only thing further from that is like maybe Pro Tools. Yeah, I just use Logic for everything because it's great for mixing too, and I do that for a living and also for myself. And I just like to mix and compose at the same time. And yeah, I've gotten really used to it. I have no interest in switching to anything else or trying anything else because I know this really well and I don't want to fix anything that isn't broken. So
Yeah.
We're speaking with Angel Marcloid of Fire-Toolz. Tell us about Fire-Toolz live. I think you have an upcoming show. What's that look like?
yeah, I have one on the 29th. I know this will be out after that. 29th of September. I'm just playing a show at a place I've played a bunch of times called DADS. It stands for Digital Audio. What is it? Digital Audio Demo Space. Yeah. I have a friend's band coming into town from Nashville, Flesh Eater, and they need a show for their Chicago date, so I'm playing with them.
What does that look like you performing live?
Well, a lot of my performance is actually just backing tracks because there's no way to, recreate all of that live. I mean, the way that it's constructed is more like a sculpture. I don't really, a lot of times, hit record and perform the song in any way. It's all just kind of built. So it's like asking somebody to perform a sculpture, the same exact sculpture that you made. Like, I mean, I guess you could do that. I don't want to do that. So, yeah, a lot of it's backing tracks, but I play all the guitar live and I do all the vocals live. And I spend a lot of my energy when performing vocals playing with effects and stuff like that because the effects I put on my voice change a lot. So I'm basically, and I do some synth parts too. So I basically go between guitar to synth and vocals. But everything else is just on my laptop. And then I play all my music videos live, like project them onto a screen. Yeah, and that's kind of how it is. And there's not much else to it. I wish I was being a little bit more hands-on in making the music, but like I said, it's sculpted and constructed. It's not really performable. And the vocals that I do live, they tend to sound different than they do on the records, because I'm using effects pedals and stuff that I didn't even use on the record. So I'm kind of just trying to do something semi-similar, I guess, when possible, and other times not possible. So.
And where's the performance?
It's in Chicago, in how was it called? I think it's in Bridgeport.
Do you know why? I was wondering this, knowing and thinking about Chicago as far as industrial sound, why it ends up being so prominent and placed in the Midwest and Chicago.
Yeah, I think that the industrial nature of Chicago, and there's other places that don't feel that way at all, but there's plenty of that there, and also Milwaukee and Detroit, and especially Cleveland, Ohio, I think really does influence people's at least their like industrial music projects or whatever. It's definitely influential. And I'm thinking of like a noise project called Grain Belt. It's just like very Midwest and rusty industrial sounding. Their name is anyway. So like that doesn't really influence me though. Like my foray into industrial when I was really young was just like Nine Inch Nails mostly, and then some other stuff, some techno stuff too. But yeah, I get inspired and influenced a lot more by more natural things, nature and animals and stuff like that. That's kind of like, even though the sounds might be pretty harsh sometimes, that's kind of like the place I'm coming from most of the time. But I do love industrial music, and I love noise, and I love aggressive, nasty sounding music, but it's like nature is making that, not some coal mine or, industrial factory or something.
I could feel about like in the area where it feels. Lived some time in Wisconsin, as has Aiden, and when I first got to Milwaukee, and the like metal industrial, like maybe how it felt and where it was and how big the scene was, and it was just different. And in the Pacific Northwest now, in Oregon, I think maybe the area in my natural propensity moving towards like doom, this kind of like very sticky, rainy, dope laden Pacific Northwest like feel to it, and it feels like it comes out of like the area, and there's an organic piece to it that I feel more out here on when you're talking about the organic inorganic piece is very fascinating when it comes to metal and that sound.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like where my more like harsher industrial kind of side comes from, and my music is just from me living in the Midwest for so many years. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure. I grew up in Maryland. I didn't move here until 2012, so I spent a good 27 years in Maryland, and the area definitely factored in to my music. I mean, we didn't live in like a rural area or anything, but it was just plenty of trees and grass and everything, birds. We're by like a little bay, and some rivers. So, when I moved to the city, it was definitely like culture shock. And eventually I figured out like I can't do this. I can't live here. So I ended up moving out into the suburbs, and that's where I am now. I'm a suburban person. I definitely get a lot of natural inspiration from being in areas like that.
Yeah, well, when you're even talking about, like what is art and like, like the lake or like a scene you're experiencing, right? And maybe there's peace to it, or you don't feel yourself, you feel like part of the whole. And
Yeah.
like on the what is art bit and about intention, it's a conceptual debate, but it's that for those more believing is that there is an author to those natural scenes and that there's art within that, where others would be like, you absolutely have to have provable intention of what somebody's trying to make. Like art isn't an accident. And I think that's where like it can get kind of fascinating, because I would say is like sitting in front of the lake, seeing it that way and having that type of experience, I'd be like, well, if that's not fucking art, then like what is?
Yeah, and there I feel like there was intention to it. Like even if you don't have any like spiritual side and you just kind of think of it as like an accident, then it was created by like the Big Bang. It was like that. This is just where it's ended up. The Big Bang is still happening. If that theory is correct, then it wasn't something that happened a long time ago. It's still happening. So in that way, industrial factories, I guess you could call organic in the end. It's the world, and then humans, and then that's what they ended up doing. But yeah, it's like, I don't understand why you would want to limit art to that kind of an intention. It seems so arbitrary, because if you put that there, then you do look out over the lake and your mind is just like, that's not art. You can consider it beautiful, but like your mind is disqualifying that. And that just sounds like annoying and pointless. And so I think that art, among many other things, just don't have an objective definition because nobody can agree on it. There are certain things that I think do have an objective definition, and those words, everybody pretty much agrees that they mean the same thing. But art is one of those words where like nobody thinks of it the same way. So how about there's just not a definition? How about it's just whatever we want it to be?
Yeah. I think I have to say, Angel, I think in your recent comments and in your comments, you've answered the why is there something rather than nothing. Why is there rather than something nothing question? Like, this is the first time in a while like I've gotten to like the point when I would ask and I'm not gonna ask it again because you answered it. I really liked just in talking about with nature and art. There's one thing I wanted to say is that my favorite film is Barton Fink, and it doesn't matter for listeners if you've seen it or not, but there's this setup at the end where the filmmakers are basically filming an important scene that you've seen that's been a painting, right? So it's like just a beautiful regular scene in front of the ocean, and it's almost set up completely perfectly. And I think the creators, the Coen brothers, knew they had the shot, that they had captured the perfect shot. And then right towards the end, there's a bird that comes through the screen and smashes into the water, and then it's done. And it's just a picturesque scene. But I've thought about that so much, about like when you see something or experience something and you have this experience, and then almost that there's something that breaks you out of it, and it kind of like breaks you out of it at the end. But just kind of like honoring experience in and of itself, right? Mm-hmm. The music experience or art experience. Angel, where do folks go to find Fire-Toolz or the art that you create, things that you work on? Where do people look to get acquainted and get more of what we're talking about?
so I know people are more akin these days to social networks and stuff like that than they are like websites. Back in my day, we just had websites, but I do think a really good way to find all my stuff is to go to my website, and then you'll find links to everything. Twitter and Instagram and Discord and all that kind of stuff, YouTube. So I have angelmarcloid.com, which is more just about all the things I do. And then there's a Fire-Toolz.com as well. That's just Fire-Toolz focused. And there's a hyphen in there. So it's fire hyphen tools with a Z .com. So either one of those websites, you'll end up being directed to pretty much whatever has to do with me on the internet.
Yeah. I want to thank you, Angel. Aiden and I have been talking about that. You wouldn't know this, but talking about this episode and rapping about it and listening to music and sharing notes. I just want to thank you for spending time with us. It is a particular thrill enjoying your music from afar and then be able to connect with you and talk about these cool things. And listeners too, as far as Aiden of Volante Music Project, Polybius as well, Polybius. All caps. Sorry. Very important. But I think even talking with both of you about these questions and hearing artists and like the creation and some of the surprises you get as a creator from what people are hearing and seeing. So I just really want to thank you for your time, Angel, and really giving us a peek inside of your art and your mind. And Fire-Toolz, thank you for the incredible art that you make every day.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You take care. It's great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you too. Bye.
We're
This is Something Rather Than Nothing.